was 2:13 a.m. on a Tuesday. The kind of insomnia where your eyes burn, but your brain won't shut off. I was lying in bed, doom scrolling through TikTok, letting the blue light sear my retinas. My apartment was dead silent. Just the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen and the occasional car passing outside in the rain. I stopped scrolling when I saw a trend called the Ghost Tracker. It was one of those stupid AI filters that puts a bounding box around faces, like a security camera. People were using it to find ghosts in their hallways for clout. Obviously, it was fake. Just random algorithms picking up shadows. I was bored. I tapped, "Try this effect." The camera opened. I pointed it at my feet. A yellow square popped up around my toes. "Foot," the text read. I laughed. I pointed it at the rug. Nothing. Then I swept the phone across the room. The camera panned over my dresser, the window, the closed closet door. The yellow box appeared again, right in the upper corner of the room near the ceiling. It hovered there, pulsating slightly. The text above the box didn't say shadow or wall. It said person, male, smiling. I froze. I lowered the phone and looked at the corner with my own eyes. Nothing. Just empty space and shadows. I raised the phone again. The box snapped back instantly to the same spot. Person, male, smiling. A cold shiver went down my spine. Not because I believed in ghosts, but because the AI seemed so sure. It wasn't flickering. It was locked on. Glitch, I whispered to myself. It's seeing patterns in the textured paint. I decided to test it. I switched to the face swap filter. You know the one. It takes your face and swaps it with someone else in the frame. Usually, if you're alone, it just says, "No face found." I pointed the camera at the empty corner. The app loaded for a second. Then it snapped. My face on the screen disappeared. In its place was a blurry, distorted texture. It looked like grey skin stretched over a skull, with two black pits for eyes. It wasn't a mask. It was what the camera was seeing in the corner, pasted onto my head. And in the corner of the screen, my face was floating in the darkness near the ceiling. It was blinking. It was looking at me. I threw the phone onto the mattress like it was burning. My heart was hammering against my ribs. I sat up, grabbing the bedside lamp, flooding the room with light. Empty. The corner was empty. You're an idiot, I told myself. It's software. It's code. I picked up the phone again, my hands shaking. I needed to prove it was a glitch. I needed to see "no face found" to be able to sleep. I closed TikTok and opened the standard iPhone camera. No filters, just raw video. I switched to selfie mode to check if I looked as terrified as I felt. I looked at the screen. I saw the room behind me. I saw the headboard. I saw the lamp. But where my face should have been, there was nothing. The camera was looking right through me, like I wasn't there. I waved my hand in front of the lens. On the screen, nothing moved. The background remained static. Then, a notification popped up at the top of the screen. A Face ID prompt. Face not recognized. Please try again. I stared at the black corner of the room again. And then I heard it. A quiet, digital shutter sound coming from inside the closet. Click. I didn't wait to see the photo. I ran. I've been driving for Uber Eats for 2 years. You see a lot of weird stuff. People answering the door naked, fights, hoarders. But usually, you just drop the food and leave. It was a Tuesday night, dead quiet. I got a ping for a high-paying order. $50 for a single bag of burgers. The drop-off was a building downtown I didn't recognize. The Apex. The instructions were specific. Floor 14, apartment 1408. Leave at door, do not knock. I parked. The lobby was massive, all marble and glass, but completely empty. No concierge, no security. Just cold white LED lights humming overhead. It smelled like ozone and bleach, like a hospital. I got into the elevator. It was one of those mirrored ones. I pressed 14. The doors slid shut and the lift started moving. It felt fast, too fast. My ears popped. The numbers on the display blurred. It felt like we were going up for 5 minutes, not 14 floors. When the doors opened, the air changed. It was heavy, stale. The hallway stretched out in both directions, lit by flickering yellow sconces. The carpet was a dizzying geometric pattern that hurt to look at. I stepped out. Right to 1408, I thought. I walked past 1401, 1402, 1403. The silence was absolute. No TV sounds, no dogs barking, not even the sound of traffic from the street below. Just the squelch of my sneakers on the carpet. 1406. 1407. I stopped. The next door wasn't 1408. It was 1401. I frowned. I must have walked in a circle. I turned around to go back to the elevator. I walked back the way I came, but the elevator wasn't there. Instead, the hallway just kept going. 1402. 1403. 1404. Panic started to prick at the back of my neck. I pulled out my phone to call the customer. No service. I looked at the time. 00. That wasn't right. It was just 11:45 a few minutes ago. I started running. I ran past the doors. 1405, 1406, 1407, 1401. 1405, 1406, 1407, 1401. The hallway was a loop. A seamless, impossible loop. "Hey!" I shouted. My voice didn't echo. The carpet absorbed it instantly. "Is anyone here?" Finally, I saw something different. One door, number 1408, was slightly ajar. I didn't care about the do not knock rule anymore. I needed a window, a fire escape, anything. I pushed the door open and stumbled inside. Hello? The apartment was unfinished. Bare concrete floors, exposed pipes, gray drywall. No furniture, no windows. Just a concrete box. Except for the center of the room. In the middle of the empty room, there was a wooden chair. And on the chair sat a figure. It was a man, slumped over. He was wearing a green delivery jacket. My jacket. I walked closer, my legs feeling like jelly. The smell hit me then. Rot. The man on the chair was dead. He looked dried out, like a mummy. Beside him, on the floor, was a McDonald's bag. The grease had stained the concrete. I looked at the corpse's face. It was twisted in a silent scream. It was me. It was my face. I stumbled back, gasping for air. My phone buzzed in my hand, startling me so bad I almost dropped it. The signal was back for a split second. A notification from the Uber app popped up. Order complete. Customer has tipped $0.00. Then the lights in the hallway went out. I bought the camera for the dog. That was the excuse anyway. I live alone in a ground-floor apartment, and lately I've had this itching feeling that things were being moved while I was at work. Just small things. A coaster shifted. A door left slightly ajar. So I bought a cheap Wi-Fi security camera online. It was a knockoff brand, Secure View or something generic. When I set it up in the living room, I realized why it was so cheap. The latency was terrible. There was a solid 15-second delay between reality and the video feed on my iPad. At first, it was kind of funny. I'd wave my hand, wait 15 seconds, and then watch my digital ghost wave back on the screen. It felt like time travel on a budget. Last night, around 1 a.m., I went to kitchen to get a glass of water. I had the iPad propped up on the counter, streaming the living room feed. To get to the kitchen, I have to walk through the living room. I poured the water, took a sip, and glanced at the iPad screen. Because of the lag, the video was showing the past. On the screen, the living room was empty. Then, I watched myself walk into the frame. It was weird, dissociative. Watching myself walk past the couch, rubbing my eyes, completely unaware. But then I stopped breathing. On the screen, I wasn't alone. Walking directly behind me, so close that its chest was practically touching my back, was a figure. It was tall. Impossibly tall. It had to hunch over to keep from hitting the ceiling fan. It was grey, naked and blurry, like a smear on the lens. I watched, frozen in horror, as my on-screen self walked casually into kitchen. The figure didn't follow me into the kitchen. It stopped in the middle of the living room. I spun around in the real kitchen, dropping my glass. It shattered. I looked at the living room. It was empty. The couch, the TV, the rug, nothing. "Calm down," I whispered. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the counter. It's a glitch, a compression artifact. Or maybe someone was there and they hid. I grabbed a steak knife from the block and slowly walked into the living room. I checked behind the curtains. I checked under the sofa. Nothing. The front door was double locked. "See," I said aloud. "You're losing it." I went back to kitchen to clean up the glass. I looked at the iPad again. The feed was still playing with the 15-second delay. I watched myself on the screen running out of the kitchen with the knife, checking the curtains, checking the sofa. But the figure, the grey thing, it hadn't disappeared. While my past self was frantically searching the room for an intruder, the figure was standing perfectly still in the center of the rug. It was watching me search. It was mocking me. And then, just as my on-screen self walked back to the kitchen, the figure moved. It didn't chase me. It slowly turned its head. It looked up, not at me, but at the camera lens mounted on the bookshelf. It raised a long grey finger and pointed directly at the lens. And then I realized the camera isn't transmitting a recording. It's a live feed. The delay isn't a glitch. It's barely a delay at all. The camera is showing what is happening right now. I slowly looked up from the iPad to the bookshelf across the room where the camera sat. And there, standing in the darkness, right in front of the lens, something was blocking the little red recording light.